The Crusades were a series of religious wars between the Christians and Muslims, started primarily to secure control of holy sites considered sacred by both groups. In all, 8 major crusade expeditions occurred between 1096 and 1291, but for our project we'll just focus on the First Crusade. The bloody, violent, and often ruthless conflicts propelled the status of European Christians, making them major players in the fight for land in the Middle East.
Throughout all this conflict, it might be helpful to ask ourselves, how exactly did the First Crusade in 1096 show the animosity between Christians and Muslims then, and how did it influence that kind of relationship that these religious groups currently have now?
Perfect.
We believe that the First Crusade in 1096 showed the animosity between the Christians and Muslims. Then through the struggle for the believed Holy Land, Jerusalem, this hate continued even after Muslims finally took Jerusalem from the Christians. To the Christians, Jerusalem was considered a sacred ground, so the Muslims taking that from them would most likely not end peacefully. This aversion can be seen today through threats and other acts of a hatred towards the opposing religion. To see this, it's important to know 1. What happened in the First Crusade, 2. What are some misconceptions of the Crusades, and 3. What is the relationship between the Christians and Muslims. Our answer is important because it clarifies just how tense the relationship between the Christians and Muslims really is.
In the First Crusades, 4 armies were made in the European region by 4 different troops. These troops were Raymond of St. Gallus, Godfrey of Bouillon, Hugh of Vermandois, and Bohemond of Taranto. The reason why these 4 troops went their own way is because they all had different ways to spread their religion.
Use that instead.
I kill you!
The prank, bro! Misconceptions about the First Crusade have fueled modern conflicts between Christians and Muslims. One misconception was that the Crusades were mainly religiously fueled. Although Christians did invade and retake land that had some religious significance to them, most did not. Initially, the First Crusade was a plea for help from Alexios I of the Byzantine Empire. Sometime before the First Crusade, Muslims and Christians were initially collaborative, and it wasn't until the death of the Sultan of Baghdad that prompted Turkish warlords to take over Byzantine's most precious cities did conflicts occur. The capital was put at risk, and Alexios' closest allies soon turned on him, and he was left with one option. He had to issue a call for help to the West and with the offer to unite the Catholic and Orthodox churches with it. Pope Urban II rallied thousands of men to fight, and he sent them to protect the Byzantine Empire. The resulting war was more of a reclamation and defense of the Byzantine Empire than it was to protect the Holy Land, and most of its cities they retook had no real attraction to Christianity. Thus, the knights were controlled by Alexios instead of Urban, who sent them, and made the knights hand over any territories that they recaptured. Eventually, Alexios lost control, and the knights simply just took the land for themselves. Another misconception is that Pope Urban II was the driving force behind the Crusades. Rather, the Crusaders simply refused to give back the land, and that meant a loss of control from Alexios. This was not really a good thing to show to everyone, that their amazing empire had failed because of their own men. So they came up with a different story, where they put the Pope in the limelight and pushed Alexios and the Byzantine Empire aside. Urban was really the only one that tried to religiously fuel the Crusades, and said that it was God's will to fight, which brought about the misconception that the Crusades were religiously fueled as well.
You know, Jerusalem is ours. No, it's ours. It's ours. It's ours. It's ours. It's ours. 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 I said it's ours. It's ours. Hey,